Hi, everyone. Welcome to Talk Advocacy to me. So excited. Lots of energy happening even before the camera is reeling. So we are excited to be here with you this lovely Tuesday for a very fun topic. Well, I say all of our topics are fun, but this one is really one I'm not sure has been really talked about. So today we're talking about are CSPs for you in the customer marketing world, that's customer success platforms, the untapped secret weapon for customer advocacy. And I'm going to give a little bit of the origin story of how we even got to this topic. As you guys, some of you may know, Deena and I have been talking a lot about lifecycle advocacy, and then I wrote a blog about it several months back, which got me thinking about the technology and which of the customer marketing vendors in our space could support lifecycle advocacy, but then also what other tools and technology might be out there that could be supporting lifecycle advocacy. I started talking to a few people in the customer success realm, and Maureen is one of those lovely people that I ran into. And the thing you have to know about Maureen is that she straddles, like if you were in two different states, she has like one leg in one state and one leg in another state, because she started in customer success. However, she championed a customer marketing program, and she's currently the customer marketing manager at ChurnZero, which is a CSP provider. It's totally meta.
Spoiler
so just
alert,
try to track with us, But so she knew the CSP platform. She understands the technology. She knows how customer success operations goes about building customer touch points, milestones, journeys. And then she sits on customer marketing. So she has gone about and tried to figure out how to layer that onto the journey that's already happening with customer success, which makes her kind of a unicorn in this space. So I am going to pass it off to her to just say hello, and then we'll get going.
Yes, hello everyone. Liz, Deena, thank you so much for letting me come on today. As we've talked about, this is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. You gave my background better than I could have. I've been at ChurnZero for a number of years now, and for the first year and a half, I was a CSM. So I understood our customers and our industry and our product very intimately. And when I moved over to the marketing side, because I have a background in marketing prior to moving into customer facing roles, I inherited some technology and ultimately the data that our prospect facing marketing teams were using. And I was like, well, where's the rest of it? Who are these people? How do you know who you're sending these things to? And so it was such an eye opening experience. And I have this kind of like light bulb moment every time I talk to, not every time, but a lot of times I talk to customer marketers, and they're still using, very little data on their customers and very generic segments. And again, why the topic is so near and dear to my heart, there's so much untapped potential in these platforms your company probably already has and data you're already collecting. Why shouldn't we be using them? So
Love that. Love that. So I'm sure a lot of you on the customer marketing side are going to have some questions as we go through this. I can see vaguely who's writing a question. So if you have a question, or you're like, hell yeah, and you want to put that in the comments, please do, and we'll keep an eye on it. But I also want to introduce my co-host, Deena Zenyk, who's always here with me. Most of you know her.
Hello.
Deena, I just want to say I'm hearing already, even just in the intro with what Maureen said, a complete connection to that idea of that life cycle advocacy, where we collect the data and then we understand how to connect that to their journey and to understand who would be relevant to reach out to and grow that relationship, and then eventually moving into the more segmented, personalized, customized programs that we typically see in customer marketing. I see you shaking your head, so you're checking with me.
Yeah, it's the whole flow. It is the it is what 5 years ago we would have thought of as kind of like more of like the dream state of customer.
It's here. It's here.
It is here. Yes. And Maureen, you're going to tell us more about it.
Oh my gosh. And this is so exciting because it's just like We have known forever that customer success is a great ally for customer marketing and vice versa.
Yep.
We know we have to have the CSM buy in to really nurture our
Yep.
customers, to identify those champions. But the technology has been very, very separate, I would say.
Yeah.
And I would say if you're on customer marketing and listening right now, have you been in your CSP? Have you touched one? Have you built anything in? I would think a lot of customer marketers have not.
They don't even know it exists, right? And there are so many reasons for that, but really it's like, well, I'm a customer marketer. Like this platform is built and used historically predominantly by customer facing teams. Like, why would I get value out of it? And I think a lot of the misconception comes from what people think customer success platforms are. It's, automated renewal workflows or like a health score. They are, hi, dream state, they are doing so much more today. There's AI, there's unbelievably powerful reporting, there's surveying, there's journey mapping for different phases of the customer life cycle, in addition to all of this automation, these alert, so many things. And I think not just like you had said, Liz, we've always recognized there needs to be a connection between customer marketing and customer success. We say that, right? And there are a lot of things we say, but like, is that the reality? And I'm so lucky to be at ChurnZero, who's truly, I mean, we're a customer success software platform. So if we're not customer obsessed, we're doing something wrong. But I am so lucky in that, one, I came from the CS department, so I already had a great relationship with them. But even if I had been coming in from a different company, we are truly, truly one team. But I think what a lot of CS teams and marketing teams struggle with is not just that they're using different technology, which is a huge roadblock. It's almost that each thinks they're doing it better, know how to do it better, right? Or it's, CS is like, why are you emailing my customers? You don't know them as well as I do. And marketing is like, well, I could be doing this, or I should be doing this, or why aren't you doing that? Right. And it's so much of that. And I think by using the same tool, that breaks down so many of those barriers. Not only am I using the data that the customer success team is using to manage their customers, drive adoption, better retain their customer, drive satisfaction, I have that. Plus, there are almost guardrails, things like I can queue up a templated upsell message based on the data that I have. They meet this persona or this thing or this thing or this thing, queue it up for the CSM with the template. And then the CSM, the owner of the account, can say, okay, let me add this additional contacts. Oh, let me delay this by 2 weeks because I have a call coming up with them. Whereas if I was sending it, let's say, out of a HubSpot or a Marketo, that doesn't exist, right? And oftentimes the CSM wouldn't even know that email went out, right? It may come from them, but it's like, okay, I just talked to them last week and they were like, no, this is not a fit right now. Stop talking to me about it. And then an email comes out in the CSM's name saying, hey, have you heard of it? It's like, well, that's going to sour the relationship quick. And then it just, all of these obstacles. So it's not just not using the same technology. There are so many other roadblocks, which I think can be broken down with using the same technology.
Yes. Okay. Well, good segue, Maureen. Thanks for the layup.
We practiced.
When Maureen and I were chatting ahead of time, we kind of discussed and boiled it down to 3 reasons why we're not saying this would be your only tool necessarily for customer marketing.
Right.
There's a lot to unpack there. What we're saying is we see a lot of value in 3 specific areas where CSPs bring so much to the table that may be untapped at this point by customer marketers. So unlocking data, which Maureen's touched on, and we're going to go in there because I can't tell you how many calls Deena and I have been on with people looking to launch programs. It's like, but we don't have any, like the data, can't trust it, don't believe in it, can't use it. And then more powerful segmentation will be our second point, and then the better or holistic view of the customer experience. Okay, so let's get into that unlocking data piece. So what type of data is living in this CSP that customer marketers may not be even touching today?
I mean, literally anything, right? Look at the tools that customer marketers are typically using, right? It's a CRM, potentially like a community platform, an advocacy platform, spreadsheets. The power of CSPs, for those who don't know, is it brings every bit of customer data you have, from your CRM. So you're looking at, attributes about accounts or contacts, or maybe the campaigns that they're in, opportunities, right? Support tickets, LMS data, community data. I mean, the options are literally endless. So the purpose of CSPs and what makes them so powerful is that you're bringing in all of that data. So the thing that I love about it, and we'll kind of get into it in this next one, is it allows me to, again, build that better segmentation, way more specific segmentation. So when we look at, because customer marketing is changing, right? So many people on this call are probably doing a lot of advocacy initiatives, but customer marketers are also doing upsell and cross-sell stuff, product adoption stuff, right? And when I look at the data that I have, if I'm doing an upsell campaign, I need to know, okay, who is this person, right? So the CS team is most likely managing a contact role field, which I wouldn't get from a title if you have a title at all, right? But are they a user? Are they a decision maker? Are they my main POC? Are they a tech contact? All 4 of those roles and the additional one, I'm going to communicate to them all differently, right? So when you look at, I can't even remember which one I said, but like an adoption campaign, right? Or a product feature release, if they need to know how to configure it, they're getting a different type of messaging. And that's just with one data point. But upsell campaigns, I'm only going to send to people who have buying power, and I need to care about what product edition they're on, and do they have any opportunities for this product in the past? And if they do, was it closed loss? Is it currently open? Do they have zero? I mean, where are they in the world? How are they using the product? I think that's the biggest missing piece in what I see a lot of customer marketers using today. Is like, a lot of people got title, they got the attributes about the company, but how are they actually using the product?
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to just see, are they an active customer? Are they in the enterprise edition? What are they using? Right. So that's great for kind of case studies and finding stories too.
Of detail is so great. And then the other part that I really like, I think that we spend a lot of time thinking about over in our world, specifically at Captivate Collective, is the idea of where they are in their journey. And then we discuss that as milestones. So as we're working with some brave customer advocacy professionals on building out workflow, so not thinking of everything as like, here's my gated community program, but as we start thinking about, okay, how do I actually nurture outside of a program and bring someone to the point of advocacy? What are those milestones? And Deena, like, those are not always, we've run into recently, right? They're not always the easiest thing to grab. Where are these people on their journey?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we look at when we go into an organization, we'll have a look at whatever journey mapping they have in place and try to pinpoint those opportune moments for advocacy. Maureen, I have a question for you on that piece around the journey mapping and CSPs. How do CSPs help us to see where people are in their journey?
Yeah, great question. So because we're bringing together all of this data, and I can speak to ChurnZero only, I haven't used any other CSPs, but you are literally able to build a templatized journey for any phase of the customer lifecycle. So oftentimes the ones you're going to hear most often are like onboarding, right? Post onboarding, general product adoption. But that doesn't mean you can and shouldn't have an advocacy journey as well. And the great part about having all of that data in the system is you're able to kick off those journeys regardless. It's not time bound anymore, in that, oh, great, they've been with us for 90 days. They must be onboarded at this point. Nope, doesn't work like that. And building these journeys, you're able to see and use all of that data and say, okay, they've hit this milestone, right? They've been with us for a year. They're an NPS promoter. They're on this product edition. Let's kick this off. And then all of those different phases within the overall journey can either be manually managed, right? Like, oh, check off they had this call or whatever, or it can be automated. So progressing them through based on the data you have. So as people complete things, they move along. And for each customer, you can set up individual kind of action items and achievements too. And if you so choose, you can actually share that journey with the customers, right? So they could be a part of it. So driving that accountability too. Now, in the case of advocacy, like, you may need to be careful about what you share and what you don't, but you get to pick and choose what's shared with them. But I think that the great part about a CSP's kind of journey mapping, or ChurnZero's in particular, is that it can be very bespoke, right? Because listen, the customer journey doesn't look the same. But what I like too is it's able to, when you build your journey, that's actually what we call them in ChurnZero, you're able to set up kind of time-bound progress scales. So let's say, oh, I would want someone in an advocacy journey to, 365 days after whatever entry point, I want them to have done these things. And you can actually, this specific account, say, they're on track. Great, they've done these things on time and what we expect. This person is behind or they're stuck. It doesn't mean that they're not still an advocate, but I have one more data point that's allowing me to see, oh, hey, this person's going to need a little bit more TLC, or dig into why all of these accounts are stuck in this phase, right? Is it the way that we're doing things? Is it the people we're reaching out to? So again, it's by mapping this stuff out, it's flexible enough to work with each of these different people and with a very nonlinear customer lifecycle, but also gives you really great data on your process.
And I think one thing we could touch on real quickly here is that we talk about bringing all the data into one place, which obviously is ideal because that is some of the challenge, right? When we talk about lifecycle advocacy, we are talking about your journey throughout the organization, which might include things like support. It might include things like education or academy. Yep. It might include a lot of different elements and people that you're touching and platforms. So what type of information do CSP users bring into the platform? What types of integrations with those other outside tools?
Great question. So I think a big one is always going to be your CRM, right? That's oftentimes a person's source of truth as far as customer data goes. The second biggest being their product backend. So any attributes you have on an account or contacts can be brought in, but also the product usage data. So you're able to look at things as generic as, oh, are they doing any activity at all for any amount of time on a day? Great, mark it as an active day. But you can also go down to the very, very granular, show me all contacts who have done this thing over X amount of times in X time frame. So you can be very general about it and very specific about it for each different use case. So CRM, product backend. If your support tickets are in your CRM, great, but like CRMs are also opportunities and stuff too. Maybe your financials live there, but you could do a Zendesk or a ticketing tool. You could do your financials, QuickBooks, right? Again, LMS data, community data. It's literally, if you're using a different tool for surveying, even though CSPs can do surveying, that can be brought in. And the thing that's powerful, and again, I can speak about ChurnZero only, but you can build ChurnZero only kind of tables of data. So think like a CRM's custom object. So in our system, I have a custom table that lives on both the account and the contact level for advocacy interactions. So that's the kind of thing that like a true purpose-built advocacy management platform is doing. But I can do that in ChurnZero. And then guess what? My CS team can see it. So every time they do a peer review, when they're on our CAB, when they're in a case study, whatever it may be, and then when things happen, it's so easy for us to look that stuff up, right? And so again, it's by bringing all of that stuff in, it's breaking down the barrier. CS knows. Otherwise, how are they going to know who we've done a case study with, right? That's easy to forget. But
so much data. Right.
So much data. Like barely even scratched the surface.
Now the customer marketers on the call are probably having like a little bit of panic because not used to working with so much data.
Yeah, I get that.
See the value though, right? Like I think obviously we know that's where it's going. We often here at Captivate talk about the fusion with B2C. B2C is looking at all that data on you. What you're looking at, how long you're looking at it, which ads you're clicking on, how you digest social media. They learn that and then they know what to put in front of you. B2B, not that granular, just not, and more relationship driven, which we love. That's why we're in this space, right? So we have all this possible data. And what can we do with that data? Like let's actually brainstorm, ladies. Okay, that's a lot of data. That all sounds amazing. What can I actually do that's attainable for me with all that data using something like a CSP?
Great. So if we were to break it down into the buckets that customer marketing can be responsible for, advocacy, adoption, cross-selling, upselling, right? Let's start with advocacy, right? Let's appeal to the folks on the phone. With all of that data, it's generating peer reviews. So a lot of us are responsible for that, right? But how are you figuring out who you should be reaching out to, or what's the best medium to do that, right?
Wait, Maureen, you mean I shouldn't always just do a quarterly review campaign?
No, they have to be running constantly, because we base a lot of ours around transactional moments, right? Whether they've submitted an NPS response or a support ticket or some other big moment, a password, whatever it may be, they have to be time relevant too. You know what I mean? And we're not just cherry picking the nines and tens as much as I wish we could, right? But it's understanding, hey, these are the people, or let's say I want to do a specific campaign to push reviews in this business segment. So I need to amp up my G2 reviews in the enterprise segment.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? It's very easy for me to say, who are the people with recent renewals? Because I have that data in ChurnZero. Recent NPS responses, recent support tickets, who have done other advocacy interactions with us in the past, who have a good health score, right? It sounds very overwhelming to have all this data, but it just means that you get to pick and choose and be more specific. It doesn't need to be overwhelming. It's like, what can I pull out of my treasure chest today?
Yes, it
That's
sounds
just one
like,
example. We can continue brainstorming.
yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like that's probably something that you've done in the past. And I wasn't making, guys, we've done, with clients quarterly campaigns. So I was not making fun
It's
of
fine if
anyone
you're
doing
doing that. At least you're doing it at all. At least you're doing something at all. That's what
well,
matters.
and that's one type of approach, right? But
Yep.
that works. And often if you need to get a lot all at once, but we're also talking about using data to make more intelligent design of how we are going about asking for certain value from the customer at certain points in time, and being a little bit more prescriptive and intelligent about that. And we didn't always have access to that type of data. And so we really had to make use of, okay, what are the broad personas, maybe some of the broad data points that we have access to in the CRM that we can then use and put out a general message to a general group of people. I feel like the work we could do here with such granular data is make very specific, very message intensive campaigns. Deena, you're nodding.
Exactly.
So I feel like
Yeah, I mean, we could make better decisions. We could say to ourselves, you know what, a 1 or 2% hit rate on a review campaign is actually terrible. But we just accept that as, okay, if you're going to run a review campaign, you need to put 10,000 people in that. And maybe this is going to help us get to the point where we can say, the truth of probably what a lot of us have been thinking for a long time, which is that's terrible. Like that's a terrible hit rate, but you can only do what you can do. You can only bake with the ingredients that you have. And here we can, bake a way better cake or bake up a way better hit rate on a review campaign.
Absolutely.
And I think, one of the arguments when it comes to internal buy-in for advocacy or customer marketing internally is like, I don't want you touching, I don't want you hurting, I don't want all of this. So it can be hard to not overtouch. There's many communications that are going out. What you said, Maureen, which am really interested in, is there is a view of other types of communications that you can have, specifically from the CSM. And, there are some regulations you can put in place too to make sure someone isn't getting overhit. So maybe give us like a quick idea of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So taking a step back, one of the other big integrations with a CSP is we can automatically sync any messages coming from Outlook or Gmail, right? From anyone who's got their mail synced with ChurnZero, right? So it's the salespeople who I would have no idea if they were emailing my account if I couldn't see that. The CSMs, marketing people, right? So I'm able to see things that are manual sends, kind of the relationship transactional stuff, but I'm also able to separately report on, show me all of the emails that are coming out from automations, right? And what automations are they coming from? And then you could say, not that I necessarily recommend this, I think it's better to have kind of a communications calendar, because with a tool like ChurnZero, things are happening in real time, right? So there's no perfect way to say like, only send 2 emails a week. It's like, well, what if the third email was the most important, right? So it's always going to be tough, regardless of the tool you're using, to put those kind of like caps in place. But I think having someone who has a full understanding of the calendar. What are the automated things that could be going out at any time? And that's important too. When I'm building my campaigns, I can say, and make sure these people have not received emails of this type more than X amount of times in the last few days. Right. So I would say it's easier as I'm building new campaigns to not overlay too much versus like, let's across the board set a cap. But you're exactly right. It helps me building my campaigns and my strategies and our communications calendar as a whole. So like, think about it this way too, because I know everything that's coming out of ChurnZero, our prospect facing marketing team, they send event invitations, industry thought leader stuff, our weekly blog newsletter, all of these things. So for like event invitations, I know they send 2 for every event. Well, I was able to say, hey, we need to cut down on the number of emails coming to our customers. I know the average customer is getting, X amount of emails a week. We don't need any more of that. Now, why don't you guys send the first email to the entire database? Great, fine. And I'll figure out a different way to get the second communication out to the specific people that need it. And ChurnZero actually has in-app capabilities as well. So think what you could do with like a WalkMe or a Pendo, right? Kind of an in-app pop-up. We also have kind of an in-app collaboration hub where I can just like drop announcements in there. So it's more of like, come and get it when you're ready for it. So because I understood, because I have every single message coming in and out of ChurnZero and to our customers, I'm able to see, what does that actually look like? Do we need to put a more stringent cap in place, or are we good and we just need to cut down on the hits and the channel and the avenue in which we're sending them, right? We have so many places to communicate to our customers. It's about knowing what's going out. And because we have the same like opens, clicks, unsubscribes, engagement metrics with things that come out of ChurnZero, including even the transactional, CSM to customer stuff, I'm able to say, ooh, actually, this persona doesn't love emails, loves in-app announcements, doesn't really engage much with emails. So I'm able to say, great, this webinar is targeted at end users. So in ChurnZero's case, CSMs, account managers, they're in ChurnZero daily. They're the in-app people. Save them an email. Great, Haley, I'll send them this webinar invite in-app. Done. Right? So it's less of like across the board caps in place. It's just because you have the data, you're able to be a lot smarter. And let's cut down the spam. Like, what is it? People get, 120 emails a day. Like, what are the other channels? Is it the community? Is it the LMS? Is it the Success Center? Right? So it's allowing me to be more strategic, which I think is huge. And our customers and our CS team really appreciate it.
I'm going to ask just a really practical question for our CMA folks who are in the audience or who are listening to the podcast. I feel like sometimes between CS and the customer advocacy or customer marketing folks, CMA folks are going to be seen a little bit as like a bull in a china shop in the CSP. What is your suggestion, or what are your insights for how CMA, because this all sounds great. This is like this is the Holy Land. This state is what customer advocacy people haven't been sitting, and twiddling their thumbs, wondering how to do good work. It's like, how do we actually get access to the data to design better review campaigns for our example here? How can CMA people approach CS to develop the relationship to get meaningful access to the data? Because I can tell you what the CMA folks are not going to want to do is get in a queue to request access to data points. If it's all there, let's all get in there together. But how can we make that happen?
I have so many thoughts. I'm so glad you asked this question. And I will say, again, I'm very lucky that I came from the CS side of the house. So they were like, here are the keys. Go crazy. But for most other customer marketers, I would say, don't try to boil the ocean when you first get in there. I think what's first most important is do your internal roadshow. Understand, like, hey, leaders, you want this, this, and this. But what about the mid-level managers? What about the end users, right? The individual contributors. I think what they need is going to be very different in those different titles, right? The end user or the individual contributor wants just better email templates, or this email is going out at the wrong time, or the wording hasn't been updated in 2 years because that's the last time CS had time to look at it, right? Whereas, the leaders want, upsell campaigns, drive dollars, whatever it may be. So first, understand what they actually need. Don't go in there thinking because I think that's the quickest way to be like, whoa, hold on. Like, we didn't say we needed any of these. You're coming in here and messing up our space, right?
Mhm.
Which it can totally happen. So again, I think understanding what they actually need and then start small, right? Again, it's understanding, do you actually need fully marketing driven upsell campaigns? Okay. Do you want to give me the full keys to the platform and have me build it? I understand that I'm going to have to learn it. That's not on
Mhm.
you to train me. Fine. But do you want me to build the whole thing? And they may be like, oh, yes, please. I don't have time. Great. Say no more. Or it could be like, no, sorry, I don't want to give you those kind of permissions. You can be in here and be a read only user, see the data, build your segments, help us, write the content, and then we'll build it from there. There's a lot to know. Fine. Also fine. And they may be like, no, you know what? We don't want marketing to do fully fleshed out campaigns. Also fine. Use your skill set to build templates and say, hey, this is what I've identified as potentially a great fit for an upsell of X thing, right? Or these are the people that we need case studies from. Instead of going out and sending emails to how about you queue up an alert for the owner of that account saying,
Mhm.
this customer seems to be a great fit for this thing. Here is this templated email to use in this scenario. So whether the templated email is built inside of ChurnZero, it should be. Like, you have fully automated and kind of standardized workflows with multiple steps and timing and all these things. Or it can be like, hey, I want to use this snippet of text in this moment. So that's one of the things that I'm doing a lot of right now, is less of the like huge, A to Z campaigns. And it's like, how can I do more CX enablement right now? These are the things that we can upsell in these moments. Here are the snippets of text, the value add language with the resource links, because CSMs are having these meetings all the time or sending emails all the time. Drop that snippet into a
Mhm.
message you're already
Mhm.
sending. So instead of like, oh, I'm going to blow everything, it's like, hey, here's how I can help you.
Marie, what I love about what you just said too is you actually described workflows that are internal that you can automate. So you aren't like always going to the team over and over again, which is a whole lot of the work that is being done by customer
Big
marketers,
time.
following up with people internally about this.
Yep.
But that
Yep.
that if we find the right technology, you can actually automate some of the internal work that has to be done as well, which is not something that is easily done by customer marketers today. And one thing to add to that is you and I talked a little bit because yes, customers are like, hey, we're not going to, I don't want to automate everything. This isn't B2C. Like, we're relationship oriented, especially CSMs, right? They have built those relationships. They don't want willy nilly things going out to their customers that could jeopardize the relationship. But like you have described, there is an ability to bring a combination of both automation and manual. Like,
Yep.
hey, here's this automated thing, but on these important moments, I might check with the CSM and they can veto that. They cannot send this automation through because they do know the customer individually better than we as a marketing organization know the customer.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And now, again, I can't speak for all CSPs, but that's one of my favorite things about ChurnZero, especially in an expansion scenario. Like, adoption stuff, fine. Advocacy stuff, as long as I've built my segmentation and my personas correctly, like, those could go out. They're not really ruffling that many feathers. But when it comes to like, hey, spend more dollars with us, chat with your CSM about this, like, hey, customer, invoice of CSM, have you heard about that? It's like, wait, I literally just talked to them about this and they said, so expansion in particular is one that I'm very careful about, because that's there's a lot of emotion around those, right? It's like, oh, great, driving adoption, fine, you can send whatever you want. But the expansion one, and for us, it's on each set of communication. So, right, like maybe I have a 5-step workflow. There are some in-app announcements in there. There's some tasks for the CSM. There's some internal alerts. There's emails. There's in-apps, all the things. On every single communication step, I can say, this one's going to go automatically. It's from marketing. It's not going to ruffle too many. It's thought leadery. That's going to go out. Well, the next one, 14 days later, if they clicked on a link in there and wanted to learn more, guess what? 14 days later, an email is going to queue up for the CSM with more information. And so again, you're able to have these conditional workflows that are to their core based on automation, but have that manual gut check in there too. And it may not be like, don't send it all together, even though it's an option. It could just be like, hey, how'd the game go last night? But, and just add the little bit so it's human.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? I love that, Maureen, because it is kind of what separates us. Like, I always am like, wow, why can't we be more savvy like B2C? Like, I should be getting the right opportunities at the right time, and you should be selling me. And, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But then there are those moments where you're like, why the heck did I get that communication? And I know that you have wrong data on me, and it really bothers me for some reason, because I think someone needs to do their job better. But that is kind of what separates us in B2B.
100%.
Like, there is that human element where we get to say, hey, we don't have the same scale. We can actually evaluate and not do always go for the widespread, broad communication. We can determine account by account to some level. Is this the right message for this client at this time?
Yeah, 100%. And I think what's important to note here is like, literally no one's data is perfect. Literally no one. And that's why I love these kind of guardrails, right? So it's, hey, make sure, just because the CSM was out for a week and didn't create this opportunity or didn't do that, it's like, listen, data is never going to be perfect. So I love having those guardrails. And again, it's like, maybe I don't even queue up that message for the CSM. Instead, it's that alert saying, hey, they may be a fit. So they get alert and they're like, I didn't think about that. Let me go use the template that Maureen built for us and send, right? So they're only having to take the action if it's something they want to take the action on. So there are so many different levers that you can pull, but again, it makes my relationship with CS so much better. Or even let's say like it is a fully marketing driven campaign, and I'm sure the marketers here they get this. It's like, okay, I've exported this list and I've done all of this, Excel cross-referencing and here's the list of people that I'm planning on using. Let me send this Excel sheet to my CS team and you get 7 days to review and tell me who to. Well, then you're like each cross-reference. I can send them a report in ChurnZero and say, here's my list. Tag them this way if you don't want them included. And they immediately exit my list. There's no export, import, cross-referencing. And the best part is when they're looking at this list, they can be like, I feel like I remember something. Let me click into Liz and see more about her. Oh, hold on. I feel like Captivate clicked. Let me click in and do more. So again, it's not cross-reference. Everything's there, right? Or like, ooh, actually, there may be an open support ticket right now. So like they may not be, it's all there. So okay, I'll get off my soapbox.
I love it because I'm seeing so much like mirroring of internal and external. It's not just about meeting customers in the channels they're at. It's actually also having your internal people and meeting them in the channels where they're at, which we don't think about a lot of the time. So brilliant. This is so interesting. I think we have done a good job of confirming that you can unlock data, you can have powerful segmentation, and you can have a more holistic view using CSP functionality and features that maybe we haven't really, as customer marketers, seriously looked into in the past. And that was kind of like an aha moment for me several months back. And I wanted to make sure that we shared that. Deena, any final thought for our audience here?
I've just had this kind of lingering idea throughout this conversation that for this relationship between CMA or customer advocacy and CS to flourish, there probably needs to be some sort of exercise where we agree on common definitions. The common definitions that CS folks are using, understanding the goals and objectives of the CSM role or other folks in the CS org so that we can position ourselves as helpful and useful and importantly as an ally. At the end of the day, customer advocacy isn't just about free t-shirts. And making customers
those are very
happy.
Important, Deena. Come on.
At the end of the day, we are all really concerned with, the success of the business and the success of the customer to drive the growth of our employers. So getting together, speaking a common language, defining common terms, and working together as allies rather than siloed functions is
right.
It's where the practice is going.
And we need some unicorns like Maureen who have sat on both sides of the fence, and can do that translating, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it can help lead some of the charge, because really, who are they going to trust? Well, someone who actually knows the technology, actually knows what goes into being a CSM. So you need to find those people who can speak to that with authority and build that advocacy and trust internally, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant conversation, Maureen. Thank you so much.
Two here. I could see Maureen coming back for a part 2.
Oh my gosh, twist my arm. I could literally talk about this for 4 more hours. Like, don't get her started.
Yeah, maybe just like actual examples of workflows that everyone should be building in customer marketing. I mean, you might have your own things that you're doing in your own CM platforms, but there are probably some low-hanging workflows that could be built into a CSP today that are really, really savvy. And it just takes a little bit of creativity and buy-in with your CS ops person. Yeah. So exciting stuff.
Great for the people who are like, I've got no budget for a tool, or I just lost my budget for a tool. Guess what? You've got a super powerhouse tool sitting right there. Invest some time and energy into making the relationship and figuring out how to make use of it.
If you're interested in this topic, I would definitely follow Maureen, because she obviously understands both sides of the fence really, really, really well. And we will be digging into this at Captivate a whole lot more. We see so much synergy, not just in the tooling, but just in what the two teams are trying to accomplish. It is starting to get very, very gray who should be doing what. So we might as well be working together and reaching those goals together. We will be talking about this more. Maureen, huge thank you. It was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Like I said, this topic is very near and dear to my heart. So thank you for giving me a platform to get on my soapbox and talk about it. Thank you.
Well, I knew you'd bring the energy, you know, and it's like, Maureen will bring some energy.
No, never have to worry about that.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.